Think of this date as a clean window the universe opens for us. On some nights, dust, sunlight, and the comet's own spin line up just right, and the picture becomes sharper than usual. That's what October 29th can be, a brief alignment where small changes show big habits. We do not chase drama. We study pattern, and pattern tells character. A comet speaks in brightness, not in sentences. When it warms, trapped ice turns to gas and lifts dust into a thin cloud we call a coma. If the light curve rises smoothly, we're seeing steady breathing. If it jumps like a startled bird, a jet has likely turned on. Either way, the sky is giving us a diary page, and all we need is patient eyes and a notebook. We'll also watch the geometry, how our Earth, the Sun, and this traveler stand with respect to each other. A small shift in angle can make a tail look thicker, thinner, or strangely sunward. That isn't trickery, it's perspective, like how a river looks narrow from the bridge and wide from the field. The river did not lie. Our angle changed. Knowing that keeps us calm and accurate. The value of a single night is not prediction magic. It's calibration. One clear snapshot lets us compare yesterday with tomorrow in a fair way. We size our questions better. Is the outgassing steady? Are dust grains large or small? Is the solar wind riding a sharper line? Clean questions invite clean answers, and clean answers let regular people understand without learning a new language. Let's enter this night with 3 tools: quiet attention, simple notes, and honest comparisons. Those 3 turn a noisy headline into real learning. And real learning travels. It rides home in your pocket and makes ordinary life a shade wiser. Reading light curves, reading intent. A light curve is just brightness measured across time. Sounds dry, but it's a heartbeat monitor for a comet. A slow, even rise whispers that heating is steady. A sudden spike hints that a fresh patch of ice has opened, like a window thrown up in a warm room. I like to imagine the nucleus turning a face toward sunlight and sighing out a thin stream. When we plot those numbers, we're not hunting for perfection. We're looking for rhythm. Nature prefers rhythm. Even surprises tend to repeat if you give them enough time. That second repetition is gold for understanding. It means this is not an accident, it's a behavior. Behaviors can be told in simple words. Breathes gently, coughs now and then, wakes at dawn, naps at dusk. Human language works fine when we respect the facts. We also watch color with the light. Slightly redder glow often means more dust. Slightly bluer hints at gas shining in the sun's energy. These are soft cues, not courtroom evidence. But together with timing, they point us to a picture any grandparent could hold. Warm face, melting pockets, grains lifted and pushed away. The physics sits underneath, but the story can remain human and clear. A common mistake is to overreact to a single bright point. The eye loves drama. The scientist in us answers with patience. 2 points make a line, 3 make a trend, and a trend tells intent. That word intent here just means the comet's habit under sunlight, what it tends to do when gently asked by the day star. Habits are destiny for small bodies. Knowing them makes good sense. By the end of this night, we want one honest sentence for the fridge. The light rose kindly and kept its manners. Or it kicked once, then settled. Or it surprised us twice without breaking the room. Any of those sentences is a gift. You can live by a sentence that calm. Jets, knots, and quiet outgassing. Sometimes we see narrow jets, like thin garden hoses spraying from specific spots. These happen where sunlight reaches fresh ice through cracks. As the nucleus turns, the hose points a bit differently, and the brightness wobbles in a way you can actually time. That wobble is useful. It hints at the spin and the map of active places on the surface. Think of it as a tiny lighthouse pattern, repeating as the world turns. Knots show up in the tail where dust clumps or where a jet pulses. They drift outward and fade, but for an hour or two, they let us measure the push from sunlight. Not forceful, but steady, like a palm on your back guiding you down the sidewalk. With October 29th clear, we can watch one knot move and estimate grain size. Big grains lumber, fine dust races. Both tell the same story in different handwriting. Most of the time, though, outgassing is quiet, not fireworks. A low, even release that builds a soft atmosphere around the nucleus. This is where simple physics feels like poetry. Heat flows inward, ice answers by leaving, dust catches a ride, and the comet grows a face we can finally see. No need to mystify it, also no need to make it dull. Ordinary processes can be lovely when you meet them at the right speed. We'll listen for a pattern like small jet active near local afternoon on the nucleus, meaning when the same face rotates into sunlight each turn, it whispers again. That repeat is the friend of understanding. Repeatability lets amateurs and pros share notes and trust each other. The sky was always meant to be learned in company. And here's the turn, because questions open new rooms. Ahead in this video, we'll step into the puzzle of sunward strands, the push and pull of the solar wind, and the gentle lies our eyes tell when geometry plays tricks. We'll stay warm, stay simple, and keep the science honest without losing the human touch. Sunward strand or true anti-tail. Every so often, a comet wears a thin streak that seems to point toward the sun. That looks impossible at first glance. Tails should stream away. But there's a known effect where larger, heavier particles, less bullied by sunlight, linger along the comet's path, and from our angle, form a sunward line. It's called an anti-tail. Not spooky, just geometry plus grain size. On October 29th, we'll check the angle between us, the sun, and the comet's motion. If we are near that flat plane, like looking across a table instead of down at it, the anti-tail becomes visible. In plain words, we're seeing the trail of pebbles and coarse dust, not the featherlight stuff. That trail doesn't care about sunlight as much. It cares about the comet's path, and it behaves like a breadcrumb line left behind. Why does this matter? Because a visible anti-tail tells us the comet is shedding larger particles. Those can hint at crust texture, crack depth, even how firmly the surface holds together. A crumbly skin throws rocks. A tougher skin favors fine dust and gas. Each leads to different tail personalities. Watching which shows up is like meeting siblings. You spot the family traits and the differences on the same face. We'll also compare the anti-tail with the classic ion tail, which the solar wind carves straight away from the sun like a blue ribbon. Two tails, two storytellers, one about rocks and memory, one about charged gas and the sun's breath. When both speak clearly, we get a fuller picture of who we're dealing with. Full pictures make calmer decisions about what matters and what is only spectacle. Closing image for this piece. Picture a pencil line drawn back along the comet's road while a silk ribbon streams forward in the breeze. Both are true at once. Truth in the sky often comes as twins. Dust sizes write the sky's script. Dust is the alphabet in which a comet writes. Big grains write in thick strokes. Fine grains write in mist. On October 29th, the sharpness of the tail's edge tells us about that alphabet. A crisp edge suggests larger grains cruising stubbornly. A soft, wide edge whispers of tiny particles lifted easily and pushed hard by sunlight. Neither is better. Each gives a clue about the crust and the heat under it. Color helps here. Slight reddening in the coma often signals dust dominance. A cleaner, bluer glow hints that gas is shining. Molecules excited by sunlight, singing in simple wavelengths our instruments can hear. You don't have to know the names to understand the idea. Dust makes the lantern glow. Gas makes the lantern sing. Both mean ice is waking and doing what warmed ice does. Leave. Dust size also changes timing. Larger grains hang closer to the track, building that anti-tail look. Finer dust races into the classic dust tail. curving gently as the comet moves and sunlight taps it on the shoulder. Curves tell speed, speed tells size. It's a quiet detective game, the kind you can explain to a grandchild using flour and rice on a kitchen tray. Shake, blow gently. Watch who goes where. We will keep our language plain because plain words carry farther. A sentence like, "Tonight the dust looked coarse and the gas sounded soft," is more useful than a wall of codes. It lets anyone track what changed next week. Astronomy is at its best when it invites the neighborhood. Telescopes are taller when the porch light is on. I'll close this piece with a kitchen-sized truth. Sprinkle sugar and sand into a breeze and they'll part company. The sky is doing exactly that, just with sunlight as the breeze. We're here to notice who goes where and what that says about the one doing the sprinkling. Solar wind meets a fragile atmosphere. Around every active comet is a delicate atmosphere, the coma, so thin you could call it a ghost. The sun's wind, a river of charged particles, flows through that ghost and sometimes draws a bright, straight ion tail like a chalk line away from the sun. On October 29th, we'll watch how clean and narrow that line looks. Clean line, strong interaction. Messy line, calmer wind or mixed dust confusing the view. The ion tail tells us about electricity in space, but our takeaway can stay human. Where the wind is firm, the tail stands tall. Where the wind slackens, the tail frays. Lives do that too in weather. Strong breeze, tidy flag, strange gusts, tangled cloth. We're not moralizing, we're noticing. Noticing leads to better questions. Was there a solar burp? Did the comet's gas change? Which one moved first? Sometimes we see a kink or a sudden bend in that tail. That can mean the solar wind changed direction like a gust around a building. Space weather reports help make sense of those bends. But even without reports, a repeat over hours suggests the environment is active. Active environment means our measurements should be humble. We are not only reading the comet, we are reading the river it swims in. Instruments will try to separate the dust glow from the ion glow, so we don't mix two stories into one. With a good night, we'll catch that separation and write our notes like honest witnesses: dust soft, ion sharp, or dust heavy, ion faint. Those two lines on a card can age into a month of understanding. That's the quiet math of patience. Small notes compound. A single line closing here. Imagine a blue thread pulled straight by an invisible hand while a golden scarf curls beside it. That's the wind meeting a fragile atmosphere. And that picture is enough for one breath. Non-gravitational nudges, in plain motion. Tiny thrusts can move a world the size of a town. When gas escapes from sunlit cracks, it pushes the nucleus like a slow, steady hand on a canoe. On October 29th, we'll watch for minute changes in the path. Nothing dramatic to the eye, but visible in careful timings and positions. This is housekeeping physics. No mystery cape. Just ice turning to gas, gas leaving, and action meeting reaction. The old law doing its quiet duty. Astronomers model these pushes with three small numbers. One along the orbit, one sideways, one gently upward. You don't need the math to grasp the mood. Along the path, nudges make the comet arrive a touch early or late. Side nudges fatten or slim the curve. Upward nudges tilt the sheet of motion ever so slightly, like a paper airplane that breathes out as it flies. Exhale left, drift left. Exhale steady, hold course. Plain sense. We look for consistency across nights. If the same style of brightness rise keeps showing, and positions land a hair off pure gravity, we trust the nudge is real. That trust lets us refine where we point telescopes next week and how we size risk and story. We want story grounded in measure, a kind of truth that doesn't require shouting. Quiet truths age better. They stand when the glitter moves on. Non-gravitational forces also tell surface truth. Strong directional pushes imply focused vents or large active patches. Gentle, washed pushes hint at a more even, dusty breath. Either way, we learn what kind of skin this traveler wears. Cracked porcelain that vents like a kettle, or felted frost that mists like a morning field. Different skins, different songs, same sun conducting with a patient hand. Close your eyes for a second picture. A skater glides on a calm pond and blows through a straw. The breath is tiny, the slide is long, and yet the path bends a little. That little is the whole lesson here. Color tells temperature, mood, material. We read color the way gardeners read leaves. A warmer tint often signals dust lit by sunlight, browns and reds that mean grains are talking. A cooler, slightly bluish tint can point to glowing gas, simple molecules excited by the sun's energy, returning that energy as clean lines of light. On October 29th, even a small change in color with distance from the nucleus can map where dust dominates and where gas carries the tune. Temperature hides in color too. Dust that sits and soaks heat glows differently than fresh, fast-moving grains. And gas close to the source can sing brighter than gas that drifted and thinned. We'll look for gradients, soft shifts from the inner coma outward. Those gradients are like rings in a tree, not exact ages, but honest hints of how the day unfolded. What woke first, what faded, what kept working after sunset on that tiny turning rock. Simple filters make this reading possible. Think of them as colored glasses that let certain notes through. We're not forcing a message. We're separating overlapping whispers. Dust whisper, gas whisper. When both are heard, the mind relaxes. Confusion drops. You can say a sentence a grandparent would approve. The gas sang near the heart. The dust glowed in the reach. That one line guides later nights like a compass tucked in a coat. Color also warns gently. Sudden reddening with a jump in brightness can mean a dust outburst. More grains than usual lifted at once. Cool spikes can mean fresh gas vents opening. Neither is an omen. Each is information. Information tames nerves. It turns a headline into a handle you can actually hold. We're after handles, not hype. Handles let elders carry truth down the hallway without dropping it. A small, friendly close. Imagine laying two scarves over a lamp, one blue, one amber, and sliding them until the room feels right. That's color work in a single breath. Polarization, how grains face. Sunlight. Light waves can line up as they scatter off dust, a behavior we call polarization. The degree and angle of that lining up tell us about grain size, shape, and surface. Matte, glassy, fluffy, compact. On October 29th, a modest polarization signal, changing with angle, can quietly reveal whether 3i Atlas is shedding chalky clumps or soft, soot-coated fluff. Household words work here. Chalk resists, fluff floats. Each leaves a different signature in the glare. Think about street glare off wet pavement versus a soft shine on a dusty book. Same sun, different surfaces, different polarization. In the comet's coma, myriad grains play that game at once. Instruments measure the fraction of light that prefers one orientation. Higher fractions at certain angles often point to rough, irregular grains. Lower, smoother curves can hint at more compact bits, not judgments, just fingerprints. We collect them and build a family album of what this traveler is made of. Why does this matter to ordinary folks? Because material tells durability. Fluffy grains darken and heat quickly, then blow farther. Compact grains stay near the track and paint that anti-tail pencil we discussed. With a good polarization curve, we tighten both tails. What drifts, what clings. Practical payoff. Clearer expectations for how the tail will look in the coming weeks, and better chances for small telescopes to catch the right features at the right time. Polarization also plays nicely with color. A bluer region with strong polarization can shout, "Fresh, small grains just lifted." A redder region with weak polarization whispers, "Older dust, lumpier, settling into the path." Together, those reads give us a map with texture, not just outlines. Texture is what hands need. You can grip texture. You slip on gloss. We're building grip here, not theater. closed with an everyday image. Sunlight on a lake through cheap sunglasses. Glare drops, details rise. That's polarization's gift in a sentence. Brightness spikes or slow breathing. Nights like October 29th sometimes choose between two moods. Spikes, sharp jumps in brightness, hint that a vent turned on or a crust patch cracked, letting gas push dust fast. Slow breathing, gradual rise and rest, means heating and cooling set the pace, like a chest in sleep. Both are honest, both are useful. We become better listeners by not demanding a show. The sky is generous without applause signs. Spikes carry timing clues. Track one jump, then watch 20 or 40 minutes. A second jump at the same interval can betray the rotation period, how long the nucleus takes to turn. Rotation explains much, how jets aim, how shadows move, how some spots nap while others work. It's a small clock hidden in a large dark. Finding it with kitchen math is a quiet delight. Elders enjoy quiet delights. They travel well. Slow breathing tells thermal truth. Poor conductors heat on the surface and cool quickly in dusk. Good conductors pass warmth inward so vents keep whispering after local sunset. The shape of the light curve, round, sharp, lopsided, points to those properties. In short words, fluffy skin, fast moods, tougher skin, longer hum. We don't need decimals to keep that straight. The song of the curve will carry it for us. Sometimes a spike rides on slow breathing like a gull on a steady wind. That layered behavior is gold. Global rhythm plus local event. It says the comet keeps its habits but still surprises. Families are like that. So are calendars. Predictable backbones with small fireworks that don't burn the house. We aim for that balance. The sky models it without preaching. Helpful teacher. A one-line close. Whether the night kicks or hums, we write what it did, not what we wished. That honesty is the only ladder that reaches tomorrow. Orbit clues, hidden in tiny drifts. Between stars and headlines lies the craft of plotting positions carefully over hours. Tiny drifts against the background tell us about the comet's exact track. On a night like this, with many eyes watching, we can refine that path by hair-thin amounts. Those hairs matter later, pointing big dishes precisely, predicting where tails will clear a field, and sorting rumor from reality when maps go viral. Non-gravitational nudges show up here too, but now as a tidy pattern in the residuals, the small differences between where gravity alone would put the comet and where we actually see it. Think of it like noticing your friend always favors the right side of the sidewalk when they're thinking. Not a crime, a habit. Habits let you walk in step without stepping on toes. Telescopes love walking in step. We also keep an eye on how the tail points compared with the motion. If that angle shifts consistently through the night, geometry is changing. Our view, the comet's place, the sun's push. Logging those shifts with timestamps builds a scaffold for the week. You don't have to climb high. A few rungs often lift you into clear air. Clear air reveals more than loud arguments do. Orbit refinement is where pros and amateurs share the same sky. A dozen careful measurements from small scopes can tighten the solution like hands sewing a seam. The stitch is small. The garment fits better. Fewer drafts, fewer myths, better plans. Plans built on good seams keep people warm when rumor weather blows cold. We've had enough rumor winters. Let's sew. Close image. A pencil tracing that gets cleaner with each pass until the line stops trembling. That still line is the comfort we carry to bed. Plasma tail. The magnetic signature. Beyond dust and neutral gas is the plasma, the charged part. Here, the sun's magnetic field writes with a firm pen. On October 29th, a narrow, straight tail points to strong coupling. Ions picked up and steered by the solar wind like iron filings in a classroom demo. Kinks or disconnections can whisper that the magnetic field flipped or snapped. letting the tail briefly detach and regrow. Space weather leaves fingerprints fast. Reading this tale keeps our story honest. It reminds us we're not studying a solitary dancer, but a duet. Comet and wind. Some nights the wind leads. Some nights the comet's outgassing swells and sets the tone. Tracking brightness along the plasma tail can even hint at where the pickup is strongest. Strong pickup often means fresh ion sources near the head and a wind that isn't yawning. Awake wind, tidy tail. We'll compare the direction of the plasma tail to the Sun-Comet line. Deviations can mean the wind's flow isn't purely radial at our spot. Local bends, stream interactions, small shocks. This is advanced music, but the feeling can stay simple. A flag that won't line up with the poles says gusts have an opinion. Not your fault, just weather. Weather sense gentles tempers. Even in space, that wisdom holds. Sometimes a disconnection event sweeps down the tail like a dimming wave. It looks like the strand broke and then resumed. The cause can be magnetic reconnection or a sudden wind change. We won't solve the whole sun that night. We will write the time and the look so those who study the sun's moods can match our note to their charts. Teamwork across rooms, the old way, the best way. One crisp closing line. Think of a harp string plucked by an invisible hand. The note you hear is the plasma tail telling you which way the wind decided to sing. After the night, what it means. When dawn folds the dome, we'll own a handful of honest sentences. Maybe the light breathed like a steady sleeper. Maybe a small jet winked. Perhaps the plasma tail drew a firm line and the dust sketched an anti-tail pencil. None of this demands myth. It asks for care. Care is enough to build a year's worth of clear thinking from one good night. Meaning then, in simple speech, 3i Atlas taught us how ice answers sunlight today. It added a page to the book of small bodies, and it reminded us that patience can read what panic cannot. It kept its distance and gave its lesson. We met it with notes instead of noise. That exchange leaves a gentle shine on a Tuesday. Gentle shines last. They survive inbox storms. For those who love outcomes, what next? We update the orbit with kinder numbers. We adjust expectations for tail shape in coming weeks. We place the token photo where it can calm a rush hour. We teach a child what a light curve is with a pencil and a cup. The child will teach us wonder back, which is fair trade. The night will already be paying interest. And for the heart, the critical time wasn't about threat, it was about attention. Attention is always the critical time. October 29th gave us an excuse to practice it together. The sky lent us focus. We returned the favor by living a bit steadier, water before opinions, breath before send, repair before sleep. That is an orbit worth keeping. Bodies have orbits too. Ours can be kinder.